Hi, today in the small shed I'm going to be unboxing some of the stuff that's accumulated over the last few weeks to put together the under bench storage for the MFT table. That's coming up next. So in addition to the sectional aluminium that I got from KJN Aluminium in Leicester, I've been accumulating a lot of other bits and pieces over the last few weeks. KJN do most of the pieces that you can use, but they are available on the internet as well, and if you're prepared to wait for them to come from China and wherever else, you can in fact get the parts considerably cheaper. So most of the bits that I've accumulated, I'm just going to start and unwrap them so you can see what the constituent parts are and what we've got. So let's start with seeing what's arrived over the last week or two. First and foremost was the aluminium from KJN. That's what we're talking about. It's 40mm square section. You can get it with either 1, 2, 3 or 4 sides open and solid aluminium in the infill if you want it. I did look at an alternative of 45mm. Bought a couple of pieces on eBay of 40 and 45mm, but decided that the 45 was perhaps a little bit overkill for what I needed. But essentially what these items do is to bolt together, and with a bit of MDF to just stiffen the joints up a bit and make panels inside it, you can then start to form structures and work around that. So that's where it's all going with the trolleys. They also supplied me with some end caps which just tidy the whole thing up a bit. It's just a black charcoal grey piece that slots into the end and finishes it off, trims it off nicely. And also their special screws, which is I think it's an M10 bolt screw, machine screw, but there's a very slight taper on the end of it that you can see, and that in itself then will drive into the end and form its own thread to help putting them all together. They then slot together using those. So we've got the bolts, we've got the aluminium section, we've got the end caps. The whole thing's got to move around somehow, so that was what I think this will be. Yeah, sure enough, little casters to run around. I've got ones with brakes on, though I'm not sure. It's ideal to have brakes if you're going to work on the workbench, but as these are basically underbench storage, I'm not sure they're actually necessary, but we'll see anyway. But the four casters for each trolley come with nuts and bolts. Again, I won't be using the nuts and bolts, and you'll see why later on during the build, but I'll probably use the nuts but not the bolts. So that's those that have come. A big old miscellaneous bag of bits and pieces that have arrived over the last week or two. M6 machine screws countersunk with Allen key heads. That is a replacement for the bolts that they supplied with the casters, and again I'll demonstrate what that's for in a minute. M6, no, it's a T50 Torx driver bit to go into the drill driver to drive in the screws come with the aluminium, and I've also had a T50 wrench sent as well to help nip them up. And T-nuts, which is one of the beauties of the section, that you can drop a T-nut into it and then attach various items to the underneath. Just putting a bolt in and then tightening it up, and then you've got the fixing on that. So they're ready to go. And then that little joker was next. So I'm pretty sure I know what that is because I've already had one lot through. I'm intending to build about 3 of these benches at least, to put other things like chop saws and things on. These are billets of aluminium 10mm thick, which are obviously offcuts of some sort. It's, I bought on eBay because they were relatively cheap to buy in this form. Well, they need a bit of work doing on them, but essentially they're caster supports, or they will be. One of those, which, as I say, look like they've been cut out of something because they've got a rough edge on them, and there's a very small cut in the corner where somebody's obviously started a cut or something. Anyway, I don't know, but for about £8 a pair, that was it. What they're going to be ultimately, hopefully, is those which I've already built, made some, and later on I'll show you on how I got on and built those. But they're 4 of those will come out of a piece of this. So they will support the casters. As an aside, don't cut aluminium with a hand-held angle grinder because it does tend to grab, and you can come, like me, very close to completely losing everything by it slipping into your lap. The grinder then wraps around all the clothing, digs into your leg just above what is the femoral artery, and all your bits and pieces down there. So don't do that. Don't do as I do. I learnt my lesson on that one and cut the rest of them by hand. I believe bandsaws are quite capable of cutting aluminium, as are circular saws, but I'll stick with manual, I think, on that one. So that, what happens there is that there's those smaller machine screws are used, or will be used, to hold the casters, bolt them down like so, and then the aluminium will have the T-nuts inserted, and they will bolt up to there, and you'll then be able to have a caster on the corner of each thing, which will hopefully allow enough so that the catch is still easily accessible to turn to lock the caster or not. So that's all the bits that we're going to use. All it remains now is to start and put it all together and build it. I've also got 6mm MDF to cut into the slots, and that will then carry draw runners, and those are the last thing that arrived, I think. At least I'm assuming it is, either that or somebody's given me something that I didn't want that's very heavy. That, I think, is a large consignment from AIM Tools Limited. Splendid service. I think they arrived the day after I ordered them, which is Pretty staggering nowadays the way things get delivered. Yeah, that's all the draw runners for the trays that will carry the sustainers. These are quite nice. They come out 350mm, which is sustainers 300 deep, so they should come out far enough, and then they've got a nice soft close on them. So that should complete the build. So we'll see how that goes and move on. So that's assembled all the parts. It's now a case of putting the actual cart itself together. That will happen now over the next few weeks in a series of videos that will describing the different components that have gone into it all. Look forward to seeing you on the next video. If you're interested in these videos, please press like and subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you on the next one. Bye.